Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's March the 20th of 2023. Hello, everyone. My name is Nick, and this is Quinn. It's your manga talkie people. And we're here to talk to you about manga.
We're here to talk you to all the manga, talk you to your house, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I started to feel like I was going a little Madam Web, Dakota Johnson there. Like, you're going to love this podcast. You're going to love it so much. You're going to listen to it twice. I think that's what we need to do.
Was that how the promotions for that movie went?
Did you not see this? There was like a commercial.
I remember hearing that the promotion for the movie, this is so weird because like the entire cultural relevance of this entire movie is based in how everyone knew it was going to be bad and then it was bad. But I remember hearing that there was a weird like pivot in the marketing where they just decided, what if we just like try and convince people to go and see this because there's hot people in it? And that's basically it.
They started trying to get the Gooning ticket, like the Gooning market to get in there. But there was like a particular ad that Dakota Johnson filmed where she's like, I just know that you're going to love seeing Madam Web. In fact, I think you're going to love it so much. You're going to see it twice. And I think she's supposed to be playing into that Madam Web sees the future. And she's like seeing the future of like, you don't just love this, you're going to see it twice. But the way her tone is, and I believe this is all entirely unintentional because Dakota Johnson seems very alien to the internet in general.
Right.
I think she just accidentally stumbled upon doing like an ASMR hypnosis video. Like my review on Letterboxd just used a bunch of hypnosis tags because it was straight up. She was like about to be like, I am gonna start counting down, and you're gonna get deeper and buy more tickets to Madam Web. It's very, very close. Did you, just while we're on the topic of Madam Web, Dakota Johnson?
Did not see it.
Very good decision. There was also, you know the meme, though, of her mother was in the Amazon studying spiders.
It's the one part of that movie I know happens.
They have tried to, they've tried to ask Dakota Johnson how she feels about that line, and she does not understand why it is being memed. She's ridiculous. Like, just sounds like exposition to me. I don't get it.
It is exposition. She's right about that.
She is correct, but
she's not incorrect.
It is one of those moments where you're like, oh right, we're the only people that are actually chronically online. These people have other things going on.
Oh man. Yeah, I think that's not a bad attitude to take towards it.
Bad movie, regardless, but
there are it's really weird because I started hearing something recently where there was supposedly a thing where some executives were trying to pin the failure of that movie on her hating on it. And it's like, have you heard the way she's talked about it? It is the most neutral sounding stuff.
Until very recently, yes, but it was very clear early on that this was not going to be a good movie. And I mean, it is very funny that the day the trailer came out, she fired her agency. She was like, you fucked me on this. But I mean, I'm sure Sony's going to do whatever they can to be like, it's this person's fault. It surely can't be ours.
Look, guys, trust us. The 7th time we try and launch a Spider-Man cinematic universe without Spider-Man will work.
Yeah, surely. Sure, we're 0 for 5 in a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man.
Hey, the Venom movies did good. Shut up.
Not good movies, but they made money. They made money. That's all that matters. But yeah, they're like, look, sure, we don't have a good track record, but surely that's all the fault of things that aren't us.
It's just kind of great because like Madam Web's one of those movies where it's like, no, I feel comfortable in just like bashing on it, even though I haven't seen it. Whereas like every other comic book movie that I haven't seen over the past several years is like, I don't know. I'm sure that there are good parts of it that there is an entire freaking universe of DC films that I have never bothered to watch that some people say are shit and some people say are great. And it's like, I don't know. I didn't really care for Man of Steel that much, so I didn't watch the others. That's all I can tell you.
That's Nick. More people need to be like you. I don't know how else to say it. I should have been more like you. I saw so many dog shit movies. There are times, like, you know how some people get like existential when you're laying at bed at night and you're like thinking about things. I sometimes get existential over the hours of my life that I've just like. I'm like 2 hours. We're lost to the Suicide Squad movie. Like they're just gone. Like I won't get those back.
I liked the Suicide Squad movie.
That one's fine. But the original, I don't want to give it like any kind of prestige. The shittier first one, that haunts me.
This is not the comic book bonus pod, which we will be recording this week, by the way. So if you are not subscribed on Patreon, now's your chance to do so. I will be telling Quinn about a very bizarrely short-lived Spider-Man storyline that I'm looking forward to. But we are instead just going to be covering manga on this manga podcast episode. So, but to go from a brief mention of Spider-Man to the hero that is clearly inspired by Spider-Man, Deku, and My Hero Academia.
Yeah!
It's chapter 417, Shimura. Last time, a big old breakthrough happened. Well, the world was watching Deku trying to stop Shigaraki, and he managed to break through his mental barriers by launching the vestiges of One for All. Because, yes, this is shonen. Yes, that happened. We check in on a couple of onlookers first. A whole bunch of people are watching on TV, and they're literally just like, what is happening? Because, of course, like they just see what the cameras can see. They can't see the internal battle. Can't you see? Kid says, well, can't you see that the blob finger things have been broken apart?
Can we, for the people who are on the WMR Discord, can we get that panel of some guy watching TV who goes, I can't tell what's going on no more. And we just use it anytime there's art in a manga where you're like, I have no idea what this is meant to convey. I can't tell what's going on no more.
Which, for all the stuff that happens in this chapter, actually surprisingly easy to tell what's going on. So, good job there.
Yeah, this is actually one of the few chapters where my hero is very legible.
And it's very trippy. So, Deku breaks through all the barriers. A mass of fingers surrounds he and Shigaraki. The shell breaks apart, and all the vestiges are gone, including Toshinori, except for Nana Shimura. And of course,
that seems bad.
Shimiya's like, why am I the only one that got repelled? I mean, of course, it makes sense. I mean, like, they're out of all of them, she would be the one that would get rejected at this point. But she blames herself and she blames her own weakness. She thinks about everything in her life that has helped to contribute to this moment, her conflict with All for One, and the fact that she had to leave her son behind. Deku is now standing in front of the Shimura household from Shigaraki's memories. And what a polite boy. He has smashed his way into here, and he's going to ring the doorbell.
Good on you, kid. He's like, well, it would be rude to impose.
A shadowy figure appears and says, say you learn more. What then? Say you expose his past to the light. Will that change a damn thing? And it's a shadowy version of himself, including his face looks like Kurogiri's face, even with the blackened face and the lights for eyes. And Deku just kind of realized, like, oh, this must be like how Shigaraki sees me, essentially. So he's probably speaking to me through that form. But he says in response to what this shadowy figure has said, look, if I just let this end without finding out, then it wouldn't sit right with me. And the shadow figure's like, well, what if you die? And says like, no. But then more stuff starts happening as a truck on the road nearly runs into him, and he's forced to dash out of the way.
We almost got an isekai.
Yeah, just like we could. My Hero Academia goes on for another 300 chapters because we have to go through the fantasy world.
What's the series change to? Like I was
I can't believe that we're not going to fight Shigaraki.
I was a teenage superhero stuck inside my villain's subconscious, attempting to save them before I got hit by a truck, and now I'm in a kingdom where I'm a goblin.
Starting off from level 0, but I have hacks in order to win anyway.
Yeah, I'm a goblin with 0 strength, but a plus 100 sword. And you're like, what?
Deku realizes that he is wearing a school uniform and a backpack, and Nana says, like, your thoughts are taking solid form here, so you can actually affect each other physically. And she also says, like, I've been repelled, and I'm sorry. But Deku says, oh, don't be. I'm glad that you're with me in this. It's like, yeah, I understand that sentiment. You know, they're in bad times, so it's nice to have someone else there in some form. So he tries to go into the house, but he is stopped by Stain, or a figure that resembles Stain, who says, like, yeah, that's why you're about to die. But then Stain's face shifts, and instead he's Redestro. And Redestro says, what burdens do you bear? What do you seek to build? And then Redestro's nose morphs into Chikara's beak mask and face, so the rest of Redestro's face is the same, and he's just got that overhaul's face coming out of it.
It's very like wild and like visually cool. I love the idea of getting him Chisaki. Having him just beat the nose is like very, very cool for some reason in my mind. This is like a chapter where you're like, shit, this is actually going to go really hard when this is animated. Or it could.
It could. Chisaki demands to know, like, do you have a plan? And Deku says, nope! And knocks him away and tries to dive through the door. But when he opens the door, he sees a picture. And it's a picture of Nana with her son, and they're hugging. And Shigaraki's voice says, it's a secret. So, this is Grandma. Or actually, I think it's actually Shigaraki's sister, I think, was the one who showed him the photo. Because, like, the doorway has morphed into, like, the frame of the picture and stuff. And Nana has never realized before this moment, like, oh my god, Kotaro kept this photo of us. But as they go through the doorway, they then see Kotaro as an adult just beating his son.
Yeah, this is definitely a hard like page turn.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He just hits him across the face. And Shigaraki in this form is just a silhouette. He's got no definition to him. He is literally a shadow of his former self. Nana, of course, is horrified by this. Deku rushes forward and he tries to interact with the scene that is happening, but he's being held back. He's being rejected. He can't go through it. He witnesses Kotaro saying, like, that's not your grandmother in that photo. That's a monster who abandoned her child. And Nana only just now realizes he didn't keep the photo because he wanted to remember us fondly. He couldn't part ways with it.
Yeah.
He couldn't bear to abandon it, and I inflicted scars on him, and those scars were passed down to Shigaraki. If only I could have taken down All for One and gone home to my son. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that she's getting this development. This is actually much appreciated, but this is, very heavy.
So, as she is having this, the scene is still playing out. Kotaro is still saying, do you know what heroes are? They're people who hurt their own families just to help complete strangers. And he raises his hand to hit his own child again. And Deku cries out, "Shimura, now!" And Nana starts to react. Her vestige is within Deku's palm. And she thinks to herself, your mom was weak. But together with Deku, she dives through the barrier, breaks through it, and she embraces her son while Deku goes to Shigaraki. And they pierce through the core and completely shatter it. And as she is fading, Nana says, "I'm sorry I never made it home to you." And she fades away along with Kotaro, and the silhouette fades from Shigaraki, leaving the moment where he was being comforted by Mon and said, "I can't take it," and started to kill his little furry friend.
I had
as his quirk away.
Better not have to watch this fucking dog die again. I will...
Twice?
I will lose my shit. This is a great...
Mon's such a good boy. Like,
such a good little cute doggy. You can't do this again. This is a great chapter, though. This is, like, fantastic. I love that it's weird, but that's what you're supposed to do. If you enter into the brain space of your antagonist, shit should get weird. There should be kookiness to it, and I think that's great. I love that Horikoshi is, like, playing with the structure. I love that they're just, like, weird visuals. This is just good, and I'm glad that, like, Nana got to, like, kind of get some closure. It did feel like there was a level of, like, a missing piece of that story, so it's kind of cool to get it a little bit here. I almost wish there had been, like, a tease to it first or something, but I like that we got it, and I like how everything came out. This is a good chapter.
Yeah, good chapter. A lot of big emotional stuff. It's very well paced. And hey, you know, you get to have that big moment of like, oh, thank God, they're stopping this from happening again, or at least from us having to see it again. But remains to be seen how effective this will be.
Yeah.
Because hey, Deku's broken through this, but is Shigaraki going to react in a way that is helpful now?
Yeah, very, very true. Be interested to see what they're able to do from here. Let's move on to Undead Unluck chapter 199, language. So we celebrate the defeat of Beast again on the first page, but then very quickly transition over. It is also worth noting that it is October 8th at like 1:30 in the morning. I know bringing up the time seems weird, but this is actually a factor that's somewhat relevant later on. So they got over to the master room, and all of the different master rules are watching Beast's chair disappear. And time, or the one we assume is time, it seems pretty clear.
Probably.
Notes, the time is 1:34. The neutralization of Mr. Beast confirmed. A line that is very funny to us.
Man, if only.
Yeah. And he just notes, I should say, the nun individualist notes, yes, let us pray. May his soul rest in peace. And Soul, at this moment, returns and says, no, prayer is not the answer. We need to beat them and usher Beast into a validated world. Change asks, like, hey, did you just go to watch them? And he's like, yeah, I actually can do that. You guys are all, like, bound by soul chains, so, like, you know, thought I'd do it. And she immediately...
Also, there's nothing on TV, so yeah, I figure I'd go out.
Yeah, he's like, over here, just some old magazines. They kind of suck. I already did this highlight, so...
the same highlight magazine.
It's a dentist's office from the 90s for some reason.
Yeah. Ever since we got rid of highlight as a master rule, there just hasn't been any new additions for us.
It really fucked up when we killed UMA Goofus and UMA Gallant. What fools we were. So Change just immediately grabs Soul by the collar and is like, then how did Beast lose? Like, they weren't this strong when they fought 6. They shouldn't have stood a chance against Beast. What happened? And Soul's like, you already know, Change. We are the entities who cause them torment, as well as the ones who get them weaponized. This is what UMAs are, and they're starting to realize that in this world, there are 3 rules that you have to yield. 1, the rule that transcends the physical boundaries to relay information to others. Soul. Rule 2, the rule that acts as a trigger to accomplish that death. And we see that the nun figure, who is the number 2 seat on the council, is death. And 3, the rule that allows growth in those to accept what souls have to offer, change. So the top 3 rules are the most important rules in all of the loops. And Soul continues that Juez caught on to this fact over everything, but she knew she couldn't embody those qualities, which is why she passed the baton on to Fuko, someone who could best do it, the current first seat, Fuko Izumo Unluck. And we also get a confirmation of the roundtable member Luck, who is in there. Mm-hmm. So Fuko is a vessel of one of the master rules. And Change is like, you're giving them a lot of praise. You make it sound as if we're going to lose. He's like, yeah, I am saying that. And there's a beat. And then basically everyone from the round table shows up and like has weapons aimed at him. Not everybody, but several members are ready to like fight him. And
it looks like War, Change, Sick, and Luck are the ones who are being very aggressive about it.
Yes. So Soul just notes, like, calm down. You guys can't beat me.
My guys.
Yeah, like, motherfucker, I'm the number one thing, so you're not going to do anything against me. And you all lack experience. Like, Unjustice looped 100 times without giving up her seat. Like, yeah, she never found a successor to play her part. But also, she whooped all of your asses. She used Unjustice to bloat your egos up and keep you from noticing that there was this, like, potential for everybody. And it's what got Beast killed. He didn't know of anyone being strong outside of Unjustice. Everyone just thought, if we kill her, that's it. If she's not involved, everyone else is done for. So if you want to win, you have to acknowledge the potential that humans hold. And with that in mind, we'll enact an optimal plan of my own. And we cut away. We cut back over to the Union group as they're flying away, and Top is explaining, yeah, I saw them. I saw the Soul people. It was a bunch of athletes I respected. And Fuko's like, oh, cool. Did they tell you anything? And he's like, I mean, it's a little embarrassing if we see the little shot. We don't get to really see the designs of these people. It's just sort of generic sports outfit people. But they note that you are able to run and stop for the sake of others, but more importantly, you'll come to gain a huge circle of friends who love your running. And Top, ever the soon apparently now in this loop, says, not telling.
Not telling. I do like that within the Soul realm that Top is in his running attire.
Yes.
So it's not like as he appears now. That's like how he is just in his soul, is he's a runner.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's some very cool, very, very cool stuff there. So they're like, all right, well, what are we going to do now? Top says that, which Fuko's like, oh, so you're coming with us? And he's like, obviously. This is very funny to me because I'm like, is your mom okay? Like, we didn't really go back to address that. Like, I know she was dropped off.
She's not visible on the cloud.
Yeah, I think they dropped her off in the town. So
she was not in that fight.
Yeah, I don't think she's dead or anything, but it is very funny for him to be like, yeah, of course I'll join you. I understand why, as we'll get to in a second. Like, this is meant to be like action into action. But it is very funny to me that he's just like, of course I'm joining you. So Julia is like, okay, cool. Well, let's go to our next location now. We'll find our next teammate. And Fuko's like, no, before we do that, there's something I have to do. And we start getting this intersected with Soul basically reiterating the same piece of information, which is Fuko has something she has to do. Tell everyone in Union about the Soul rule. Because once everyone knows, they will suddenly become much stronger and they will stand a better chance surviving these missions just like us. But the Master Rules will try to prevent this. And that is finished with Soul saying they're already too late. So we cut to Fuko and she says, so before that happened, and then like this, fucking effect happens and she can't speak. And everyone's noticing that. Their voices are gone. And Soul says, hey, language, how long can you maintain this ability? And she says, maybe half a day. Once I hit phase 3, though, I can keep it up even longer. So that's why it's kind of important to note the time that like it's 1:00 in the morning. So if they don't get to phase 2 by 3, by like what 1 in the afternoon, then it would end. But it could possibly go all night. Who knows exactly?
There is also, of course, a time limit for how long they have to deal with neutralizing language.
Yes.
So
yeah, I forget when the exact quest ends.
I forget as well, but the key to this, of course, is, as we established, like, okay, so none of them can communicate with each other right now. So they're unable to pass on the, all this soul abilities and stuff. So they're not going to be able to get other members stronger. So how are they going to beat language within that time? And it's an interesting thing of like, it's like, hey, you don't necessarily have to have an aggressive UMA ability the way that Sick does, the way that Beast does, in order for you to be nearly impossible to take down, as long as you just take away a fundamental aspect of strategy beating. How can they deal with this? But that's not the only thing that is going on here.
Soul continues that that's fine. That time limit works because they won't be able to talk. They won't be able to use language during that period. So we're going to eliminate them before your ability wears off. And meanwhile, where you are language, you need to kill the negator with the most advanced understanding of souls. Ichiko Nomori, Unsleep. And once you've done that, any change in them will come to an end. And we get a 1.5 page spread of language, using one of the scientists as like a reading post, I guess, like a desk.
She's in a chair, but the bottom of the chair has a scientist slumped in it, like underneath the armrests, and she's sitting on her knees on top of them.
I guess she's just laying on top of a dead body. I thought for a moment it was supposed to be she's using them as a footstool, but I guess she's just sitting on top of a dead body that's underneath the armrest. He died very specifically.
Yes.
But in that laboratory is Ichiko and Nico. So there we go. Maybe we're going to get Unforget finally.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be some development on that end. Of course, there's just kind of been the continuing, like, hey, we know these two are supposed to get together at some point, but they're just kind of like scientist buddies who won't acknowledge that they care about each other right now. It also seems as though there is going to be something to do with the fact that the way that Ichigo gets sleep right now is by having her soul leave her body. So, yeah, I'm curious to see exactly how this is going to happen, and also how they're going to deal with this. Are we going to get like Tella involved more here?
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Tella gets involved, and he should. There's a part of me that's concerned. I don't know how high he ranks on like the popular. I know he ranks a little bit high because he and Billy are like the most popular, I think, like boy love couple essentially. So I think he gets a little bit of attention from that, despite ultimately not doing anything in the series. But I really do hope he gets involved because I feel like this would be a cool place for him to show up, essentially.
Yep. Looking forward to that. But for right now, we're going to talk Blue Box.
Blue Box.
Chapter 141, You Can Do It! And we get some nice color pages at the beginning of this. The action starts off continuing the match between Haruyu and Taiki, while Chinatsu is silently rooting her boyfriend on, thinking to herself, you can do it, you can do it. And then we get a big old 2-page color spread of the two of them, sitting together and being happy while they're at practice.
With a classic bottle of Pocari Sweat.
Yes. Yes, that product placement is there.
Yep.
Yes. Haruyu has taken control of the second game of the match with Taiki. And so everyone's like, yeah, I mean, of course, Haruyu would ramp things up after losing the first game. Taiki is trying to fight back. And so some of the other players are like, Haruyu is 1 point from game right now. It would be smart for Taiki to conserve his strength for the final game. And of course, he's not doing that. He is fighting every single volley, trying to fight back. It's in vain. Ultimately, Haryu wins, and he wins by a more comfortable margin than Taiki won the first game. The first game was quite close, and this one, Haryu's got like 50% more points. That's an okay, comfortable win there. So they're like, all right,
he
they've won one
also
game each.
Specifically, Taiki slips on his own sweat in a moment where we see Chinatsu, and I don't know if it's meant to specifically apply, but this is certainly how I read it. Is it almost felt like, is this about to be an accident? Yeah, like really bad for a moment almost.
Is he gonna hurt his foot? Yeah. So they're like, hey, they've won one game each, which means that whoever gets to 21 first in the next game is going to go to nationals. And Yusa has seemingly started watching as well from the sidelines. And as Chinatsu's group is watching, Karen comments like it all just happened so quickly. And Kyo comments, badminton is sometimes called the fastest sport. And one of the other club members is like, yeah, I mean, that's mostly because like the shuttlecock goes really, really fast. 390 kilometers per hour.
That seems fast.
Very fast.
No cock should be going that fast, Nick.
So but you know, they're like, there's, in order to react to stuff, you've got to have insane reaction time. Even the drop shots are absurdly fast. So you've got to have that ability to anticipate. If I return with a hairpin shot, he'll just go for a kill shot. You always go right for clears. Anticipating how the shuttlecock is going at you and trying to figure out how you return it. That's what makes badminton fun. And Shinatsu takes all this in, and then she thinks back to some of the conversations that she had with Taiki about this sport, where he would say, like, oh, I like badminton because I'm on the court all by myself, and the feeling of all that responsibility on me, whether I win, whether I lose, it's all on me.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like pressure.
Yeah.
The final game begins between the two of them. Very intense rally happens, and as Chinatsu is watching, she thinks, I can't imagine the pressure you must feel standing alone on that court. Whenever I lost and was feeling down, Taiki was the one who took me out and cheered me up. He even gave that ticket to Yumika. I wish I could fight alongside him, but I'm probably being too presumptuous. And she goes back to, you know, doing cheers, but she's just saying, you know, like very neutral stuff like score, win, you know, that kind of thing. The volley continues, and it looks like the shuttlecock has gotten past Taiki, and he manages to whip around and go for it, but he can't quite save it. And he is trailing again. He's trailing by the same margin he lost last game by. He's down 15-8. So they're like, I mean, he's trying to hang in there. And then Taiki bends down and he starts grabbing at his ankle. And people are like, oh no, what's wrong with his foot? And Chinatsu again flashes back to the collision in her basketball game when she got hurt. And someone's like, oh man, maybe it's his laces. He did slip earlier. See, he looks fine. Good. And Chinatsu breathes a sigh of relief. And then she looks closer and she can see a little string, good luck charm, that he has tucked into his sock.
It's very cute.
And Taiki keeps on fighting, and Chinatsu, having seen this, gets a embarrassed, determined grimace on her face. And as it continues, she shouts out, Taiki, you can do it! Just full on saying his name and cheering him on. And Karen looks at her like, whoa. and Akari noticed it too, because of course she did. She notices everything.
She's here to be... I don't... It feels mean to be like, she's here to be a homewrecker. She's not. She just happens to be like, oh, hold on. There's a little shit to stir in this pot. Not for her, but just narratively. We have to get a little shit here.
So all that concern over like, oh well, people will know if I cheer you on. It's like, fuck it,
Yeah.
she's cheering,
Which is fucking awesome. I am glad. Like, I love that she sees that he is like trying to feel like she is there with them on the court, and she's gonna start shouting his name. Like, she's like, fuck it, like, this is my boy, this is my boyfriend, I'm gonna start shouting his name, which I think is cool. Like, you know,
It's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
very, very, very cool. Good chapter. Blue box.
Absolutely. Oh, speaking of good chapter, Quinn.
So we do this every time with Boruto. Like, every time we do Boruto chapter comes out, there's like a level of like exhaustion. Like, I need to make it very clear. This is not like an awful chapter of Boruto. This chapter is just long and like
It's long,
annoying. Like, it's just like it just keeps going.
and you know what you can say about so much of this chapter, Quinn? Chapter 8, it doesn't matter.
Shit, one of the best Sonic songs though. So
Now it happens. I will never give up the fight.
uh-huh.
Yep. So we've got Jigen on the cover. Put on some shoes, boy. So
Also, your pants are so ripped. Buy new ones. This is wild, bro. Like, come on.
Then I wouldn't have enough leather for this weird mantle thing.
But you're dragging it along the ground. Like,
isn't it part of your body?
I remember when I was like a stupid teenager, I would drag my feet so much that my jeans, and I didn't have like properly sized jeans, so my jeans hung like below my shoes and they would tear, and then the shoe would like hook into the tear, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. And I was like, no, buy new jeans, you dumb idiot. What are you doing?
Okay, the chapter begins with honestly my favorite part of it, which was Ada was watching when Boruto said to Mitsuki his whole "I'm your son" thing. It's just that simple. Come find me anytime. Which is, let's be real, lame and weird that he knows that Mitsuki thinks all these things. It was never established in the manga that he knew all this stuff. But Ada is watching all this and she just thinks to herself, "That's like too cool. Oh gosh."
Sure, he's super awesome.
Just her being a weird teenager with the worst tasted boys.
Yeah, well, she's slowly moving from Kawaki to Boruto. She's actually now like
going up in the world.
She's like, actually, Kawaki kind of sucks. Boruto's kind of cool now that I think about it. You're like, I don't. Better.
How many?
Get a crush on somebody else. There has to be an actually cool boy in this world, or girl. But whatever.
How many girls are going to have a crush on Boruto by the end of this? This is three
right now. Yeah.
3 now.
Well, let's ask the important question, Nick. How many other age-appropriate female characters are in the series?
So there is Cho-Cho.
Okay.
She's their age.
There you go.
Well, Mitsuki also loves Boruto. They established that very cleanly in this chapter. Age appropriate. That's such a hard question actually, because there's so few female characters in Boruto that do anything.
I was gonna say,
Boruto. I mean Naruto, like in general.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only other two female characters that aren't like the children from the previous series who are now adults now is Hidawari, who's his sister.
And is younger.
Yes.
So.
And then I don't know how the fuck old Delta is supposed to be. I truly do not know.
She's probably younger.
Okay, then I think
chronologically.
Then I think we are basically 3 for 4 on age-appropriate female characters in this series who end up having a crush on Boruto.
Good God! All right. So anyway, Kawaki demands that Ada, track down Mitsuki so that he can track him to Boruto, and Ada's like, "Okay, hang on." And Delta is there too, and she says, "Stop being so rude towards Ada. It pisses me off."
Actually, Nick, I don't want to interrupt us. I'm going to, though. Can we go back to this cover page real quick?
Of the torn pants Jigen?
Yeah. What's
Jura, not Jigen.
What's up with this guy's anatomy? I want you to look at his waist and then look down to the way his legs are pointed. How does this make sense?
His legs look crossed.
What's going on with his legs now?
I think that it's supposed to be that the rightmost leg is actually pointed forward, but his hips are twisted very unusually for that.
I can't tell if
he'd have to be.
I can't. Yeah.
He'd have to be like. He'd have to be positioned in such a way that his waist is turning to his right while he's also pivoting his right foot forward, which is not. You can't. It's really uncomfortable to do both of those things.
Yeah.
So that is weird. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure it wasn't insane.
I did not notice that before this.
I just got bored. I was like, let's look at this color page again.
Delta says to Ada that Kawaki being mean to Ada pisses her off, and Kawaki says, "I don't care how you feel. Go ahead, be mad." Oh, he's so hard, and whoa, he's cool because he's a dick. Ada gives a location to Kawaki, and so he's like, "All right, let's go, Delta." And so he flies off the way ninjas do, and
it'll
then
never
Delta's
stop
like,
bothering me. I truly like it'll never stop aesthetically bothering me that characters just fly in this series. Toriyama, we mentioned, has so many legacies among him. Like obviously, everyone would just want a series where characters could be like, "I have to go somewhere else." But like, not every series should actually do it.
Ada tells Delta, like, okay, make sure you watch over Kawaki, and Delta gives her a thumbs up, but there's a sound effect when she gives her the thumbs up. Zot!
Nick, what sound does your thumb make when you give a thumbs up?
At the very most, like, it's...
You've never... It's never sounded like an electrical charge going off when you give a thumbs up, like...
I guess technically Delta is a cyborg,
yeah.
So maybe. But...
yeah, that's her servos clicking.
Right. Delta literally threatens Kawaki's life and says, like, I swear that as soon as Ada gets tired of you, I'm going to kill you. And Kawaki's like, well, once I achieve what I want to do, I'll go away on my own. It's like, that's just... He is such a 13-year-old in that scene. That is just something you say to have the last word in a conversation. Like, that's such a nothing contribution. Like, oh, but I had the last word. I showed her.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Take that.
I hate you. He's become such a worse character since he became a bad guy.
Yes. Similar to Sasuke, the character he's meant to be representing.
Yeah.
Kishimoto might just be very bad at heel turns. Possibly.
Boruto shares information with Shikamaru. None of this is important. We know all this already. They are just reiterating information. It takes so long to get through all this dialogue. I'm skipping.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I want to give attention to is like what Shikamaru points out. He's like, oh yeah, Team 10's Kazamatsuri Moegi also became a tree, and you're like, he also knows. He's like, yeah, so people become trees regardless of age or gender, and like. Why was that something we needed to have pointed out? I just assumed.
That was not something that you need to say. It's weird.
Imagine if you did a zombie series and somebody was like, I think children can become zombies too if they get... And women can also become zombies if they get bit. You're like, I just assumed this worked for everybody. If you were a human with a pulse, it works on you.
This is what happens when like you're sharing information, you're recapping information, and you decide to go to like the forums and wiki pages that your fandom puts up, where they overanalyze everything, and you're like, this will be a great summary for me to reiterate information.
Yeah, as a DM, I presented my players with situations, and they start doing shit like this, where you're like, guys. I don't know why you're talking. This is not a factor. What are you doing?
Just eat the red apple. That's
it's in a coffin. It'll be good for you.
Some of Ryan's look at that.
It's a small category, but those are the real ones.
So, Maru says, oh, I'm getting another call. It turns out Kawaki is communicating with him too, and they bothered to be like, they won't hear this, right? And he was like, no, I'm. So anyway, Kawaki's like, all right, I'm gonna go after Boruto, and Shikamaru's like, shouldn't you wait for reinforcements? No. Okay. And then Boruto's like, all right, bye. Because he's like, yeah, Kawaki's coming here. I'm only here to have this conversation with you. Goodbye.
Yeah, he just he pieces out.
He does the one smart thing in this whole chapter, basically. So he leaves. Kawaki gets there and then scans him. Is like, I don't sense him. Where the hell is he? And Delta's like, I mean, maybe he sensed you coming. He's like, no, because I didn't sense him before we got here. So he actually left before he perceived me. And it's like, I don't even know how that's suspicious.
Yeah, like...
Ninjas were after this boy while he was running from the village. Why would you assume he would stay here?
Yeah, I was like, he did whatever he came here to do and then fucking left. Like, chill out.
Like, I understand narrative that the reason for this is so that Kawaki can suspect something. So that you can be like, oh, maybe he'll figure out that Shikamaru was actually collaborating with Naruto or whatever, or with Boruto rather. But it's like, yes, but people are in places and then move. Like, Ada didn't say he is in the forest and he's standing stock still there. Like, God. Speaking of Ada, I admire the attempt at what happens here. Because she is hanging out with Damon after Kawaki has left her. Mitsuki shows up after he's had that whole fight and conversation with Boruto. And the two of them start having a conversation about how, Mitsuki is upset that, Kawaki is upset at him. And then he's like, yeah, I guess he feels like it's a waste of time to even be mad at me. Damon's like, what, doesn't it make you feel sad that he doesn't even care about you that much? He's like, no, that doesn't really matter. I mean, that's kind of what I felt for some time now. And he gets really, really vulnerable. And he says to Ada, until I met you, I had never known what the emotion love felt like. And Ada's like, are you hitting on me? He's like, no, I'm not. Because I'm forced to feel love for you, I am experiencing it. And I've never felt that before. And it's a unique experience. And I'm thanking you for that, basically. And he's like, I never really cared about love. It was all that mattered to me as long as I had a sun that would illuminate me. And it's like, maybe it makes sense that Boruto do this if he just talks like this to everyone. He just says it aloud. I thought it was like an internal thing. My bad. Apparently he just talks about his son all the time.
Everyone's like, oh my God, the sun thing.
The sun thing.
Your fucking chai latte is done. Get out of here. We're out of Danishes. Just go.
Feels very on brand for him. I don't know why. So he goes over this and everything's like, yeah. I mean, look, I started to realize that if I don't give myself like self-affirmation, that I'm going to also lose sight of my son and what the most important thing to me is before I even realize it. And so Ada's like, oh, well, that's kind of great that you realize that then. And then Mitsuki also says, I think that we're like similar. I don't know why. I love Kawaki. And he was like, yeah, that's just what love is. When you just get that feeling, it doesn't matter why it happens. You just feel it. And you just simply can't comprehend that because my ability caused you to experience a false love. And Mitsuki says, son.
Yes. And surely, after this conversation, the chapter's done. We've covered everything. Because this has been a lot.
No, we're halfway done.
No! I cannot express how long this chapter feels. All of it is talking, and like the worst kind of talking.
There is a thing where because he straight up says, I love Kawaki in this sequence. Like he says that he now is like the feeling that he feels is love. And so it's like, hey, this is to show the strength of the emotion he feels for Boruto and how that's been misplaced now. And he has this bonding experience with Ada over it. And like on the surface, if you like summarize like what happens in this conversation, I'd be like, oh, that's great. That there is this like humanizing moment for these two very poorly developed characters where they have that shared moment. But the actual dialogue, the pacing of it, the fact that Mitsuki just keeps repeating himself. This could have been accomplished in like 2 pages, and it happens across 8. Like, it's so much wasted time to go through this. And it's not like a problem that it goes on for this long. It's that it goes on for this long and it does not have enough content within it to support that amount of time. It feels hollow and empty for something that important.
Yeah,
like, it's
like
frustrating.
Like, I appreciate this at a level of like, it's good. It is good that we get Mitsuki development. This is a character who's been like criminally underused throughout the series of Boruto. Like, I want to see stuff from him. I want to like get his character expanded. But like I said, this dialogue is not good. It goes on too long, and it's like crammed into a chapter. I should say crammed. That would imply like this is small and they fit it in. Like, this is a giant wedge of this chapter that already has so much going on that I feel like by the end I forget that there's like this entire Mitsuki scene even in here.
The chakra tree guys are hanging out. They've got a cube thing just in their lair.
Don't you?
Jura goes through it in order to come out of one of the claw grimes near the Konoha. I don't know why he puts his hands in his pockets and crosses his legs.
Because it's so cool, Nick. He doesn't just transport himself normally. He fucking goes in backwards, reclining. Yeah. He's weird. He's cool. He's sexy. Don't look at his feet.
He goes with Hidari, the Sasuke chakra tree guy, and they show up outside of Konoha. Alert goes out like, oh my god, we've got a signature of Sasuke's chakra approaching, along with an unidentified chakra signature, because we haven't learned yet who Jura chakra originates from. Sarada hears about this, and of course he's like, oh my god, my dad's here, what? Hidari says like, where is Uzumaki Naruto? And Jura says, I don't know his location, but I can tell. So this is unusual because, like, wait a minute, but we know that Naruto is hidden away in a pocket dimension somewhere. So how can he sense his chakra?
Yes.
A fight breaks out. It happens off screen. Thank God. Then, honestly, the ironically best part of this chapter is that Jura and Hidari just come across, are walking along down the street, and they're like, oh, look, a rare bookshop, and they just go inside.
It is the best thing about this character right now is apparently he's got like a weird little book interest. He's always like, ah, cool, a rare bookshop. And later on when a fight happens, he's like, no, not in front of the bookstore.
I also like how Hidari's like, so we're going to find Uzumaki Naruto in here, and Jura's like, you think that we're going to find him? No, I just like books.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm just a little devilish, and I love myself some good terms. Oh, 50 Shades of Grey, how I've sought you.
So good books, yes, the best, only the finest.
Only the most exquisite here in the Smutorium.
Smutorium. Kawaki shows up to start fighting them. And Yashiro's like, don't damage the bookshop. It is a treasure trove. They try to chakra tree Kawaki. I admire that. Just get it over and done with. Yeah. But he busts out of it. He tries to attack them with the karma, and Jiro just punches it apart. Completely just no-sells it. And Kawaki's like, wait, what? And then he gets roundhouse in the face and knocked into a water tower.
All right, go off, Kakion.
Yeah. Jura senses Uzumaki Naruto's presence while Delta goes to fly and help out Kawaki. A whole bunch of people race to the scene. Sarada is going there with Sumire, and then Team Inashikacho along with Himawari are also racing there. Everyone's doing the Naruto run.
Everyone's doing it, of course. Why is Sumire going?
I don't know.
I'm like,
so here's the
there's
thing.
Like a question of like, what are you?
We don't watch the anime, okay? So we literally do not know this. Does Sumire have any ninja skills worth noting? She's the class president at the presumably ninja school. but can she actually fight?
I
don't know.
I have no idea. Based off her outfit, you would assume she did not come ready to rumble, but I guess that doesn't really matter.
Look at what everyone else is wearing.
That is
literally everyone else.
That is very true.
Shikadai is wearing jeans that don't fit. Like, come on. So Jura says like he's close by, and Hidari says, "Are you sure?" And Jura says he is a Jinchuriki who bears a Biju. As an incarnation of a fellow Biju, I can sense the Biju chakra dwelling inside him, which is going to be important in the next couple of pages because everyone shows up there that is trying to race to the scene. So Shikadai, Inojin, Chocho, and Himawari show up. Jura descends in front of them and looks around, and they're like, And so then Hibari's like, well, which one of them is it? And Jura says, this is odd. What in the world is going on here? And he is looking right at Himawari. So we've been saying in the past, like, Himawari has some of the only interesting parts since the time skip has happened. And apparently she's going to be important now.
Sure.
And when you think about it, it makes sense. There have been hints that she has this like kind of berserker fury thing in very small snippets. She also, is Naruto and Hinata's daughter. And Kurama faded away from Naruto. So maybe there is some small semblance of him that is in her now instead.
Potentially. Maybe there's like a new interesting development. I am done talking about Boruto. This was...
Me too.
Again, not a bad chapter. It's just very long and wordy.
All right. Chapter 159 of Chainsaw Man. Attack on Samurai. So the Devil Hunters Club is tagging along now, along with Gyoni, the guillotine crow thing. One of them spots a door, and there is a window that leads into a padded cell where a bunch of the fake chainsaw people are all being held, and they're just kind of like wandering around aimlessly, having chainsaw heads and arms. Then someone just shows up near them and says, the folks in there were leading ordinary lives until just yesterday. It's the strangest thing. Even now, people turn into these pseudo-chainsaw men out of nowhere. What's triggering their transformation to these monstrosities? A bunch of theories are going around. Like they'll turn if you like Chainsaw Man above a certain amount, or that there are a lot of monsters among those who worship him. I have no idea what to believe. Tell me something, Chainsaw Man fan club. Why is it that a chainsaw spread from my wife's head, yet your heads are unmarred? My wife never missed a day packing my lunch, yet she turned into a monster. And the irritating old man next door, still human. Why do you think that is? Is there no God? Why me? I've never done anything wrong in my life. And Asa looks at him and just says the intrusive thought immediately. Not even once. Okay, well, I did have an affair with a woman from my office, but that only lasted 6 months.
This is so fucking funny to me. Like, it's... I don't know why. I know they say immediately, like, oh, he's just buying time. Like, Yoru transforms, and it's like, he was just here. But this is, like, very funny as, like, this huge, like, grand catharsis of, like, why? Why me? Why must I be tortured? My good wife, we've never done anything wrong. They're like, never? He's like, well, I did cheat on her for 6 months.
Just 6 months. Oh, man. So Yoru takes over Asa's body and just says, this piece of crap is just buying time. And she fucking spinning back kicks Fami in the back. And for a second, I was like, wait, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then bursting through the wall is the Katana Devil right where Fami was standing before, who was going to freaking, cut through her that way. Fami tries to command the guillotine devil to do something. It's gone back to being a totem. And it's just completely inactive now. So Fami's like, oh, you're useless. Brain matter devil hunter guy tries to attack her again, and so Yoru kicks her in the head to try her out of the way.
Again, very funny that the way Yoru keeps saving Fami is to just kick her really hard. Like, not stop the attack. She's like, the only way to save you is to drop kick you in the head.
And yeah, they're like, be gentler when you push her out of the way. And Yoru just says, you try having only one arm. Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah. This was a legitimately very funny chapter. It's pretty short. There's not a ton to like really digest, but hey, like we see more antagonists. The stakes have changed a little bit. We got a little bit, like, we don't know exactly the parameters of how Fami's powers work, but we do get what she means now when it's like, oh, I can't just summon crazy monsters all the time. Like, shit will happen. They aren't totally available. So, good stuff. Fun.
Yeah, things have suddenly started to look really bad for them in this prison break scheme. Spy Family, Mission 96. Last time, a whole bunch of people wanted to dance with Damien, including Anya. So his friends decided to host a series of challenges to decide who would get to dance with him. Meanwhile, Mr. Henderson is just watching. He's like, "You have what? What are you doing? What are you doing?" So first up, they're going to do the quote-unquote clapping scarecrow endurance battle, which is everyone has to stand on one leg and also clap their hands in rhythm. So they're like, oh, okay. Lloyd in disguise is like, oh, excuse me, madam, there is some lint on your dress, and just attaches strings to her so that when the endurance battle happens, he can just hold her upright while she stands on one foot and she claps her hands, and so she's totally fine. Gradually, the girls are dropping out because they lose the rhythm or they're, just getting exhausted. And of course, Anya is totally fine because her body is just being held up that way. While Lloyd is off somewhere with a series of intricate strings angled up to the ceiling, hooked around, pulleyed, and he's got them all wrapped around his arm. And he's like, we've got to win this no matter what.
I like how tensile strength seems to be required right now. Like, he is actively, like you can see, like, a shaking going on in the platter he is holding because this is challenging. I'm like, how much tension is on these strings? She's 5.
Yeah.
What's going on, Lloyd?
And then Anya's like, this is so easy. Check this out. And she starts, like, swinging back and forth on one foot. Which is, of course, messes with Lloyd's hand, which is attached to the other end. And yeah, it gets to a point where, Anya passed through to the next round, and Lloyd says, losing all function to my left hand is a small price to pay for world peace.
Very amusing. Very good.
It's a small price to pay for my 6-year-old daughter to dance with that 6-year-old boy one time. Yeah. Next up, they've somehow had time to set up an obstacle course. I know it's just with string. Where did you have the time to do all this?
Once again, this dance starts in 10 minutes.
So everyone has to run through an obstacle course, and of course, all the girls are like, it's hard to wear a dress and high heels and run, and Anya don't give a fuck. She kicks off her shoes, hikes up her skirt, goes through stuff. They're like, oh, we've got to get across this high bar, but I don't want to seem unladylike. Anya jumps on top of the thing, falls off, face plants, gets up, keeps going because she has all the indestructibility of a 4-year-old. I love the panel of her going through the wire maze thing because she just gets her face in it and forces her way through. But it looks like, oh no, she's still behind the top leaders. She's going to get eliminated with the rest of the pack. And the last chance is the inchworm crawl. You have to get into a sleeping bag. Where did they get these? And crawl to the goal. And apparently this is her secret talent. She just worms her way past everyone. And yeah, she makes it through. She gets 3rd place, and some of the girls are like, fuck this girl. She doesn't deserve this. Last round, 5 girls left, including Anya. It's a quiz about Damien. So Lloyd's like, oh, it's all right. I'll have to, with my great spy master abilities, all my information gathering, I'll just have to find a way to communicate stuff to Anya. And then they're like, what did Damien reach for first at breakfast today? And Lloyd has a moment to have a multi-sentence breakdown of like, oh, how do I figure this out? And eventually Damien's like, what did I eat first?
Yeah, because Anya's like, I'll just read his mind, and he has no idea.
I don't remember that. And of course, his two sycophantic followers are like, he went for milk today. And I was like, milk? Yes, correct. Then things keep on going. Anya gets a very specific one, which is like, oh, he's his dog jumped on him and knocked him into a pond in the yard and stuff. How did you know that? Lucky guess. And then they're like, Damien's height is equal to which of his classmates? Bend your poop pee paste goofalo, because she's trying to not get exposed for being able to read minds and so on. So it gets down to the last question. Anya is tied with one other girl. And so the question is, what person does Damien love best? Two of the girls immediately blow and are just like, me? The other two try to guess people from different halls. But Anya just gets a very sincere, quiet look on her face. And she says, Scion boy loves his papa. And you can kind of tell in that moment, she didn't have to read his mind to know that. She just, knows him that well. So they're like, shit, Anya wins and she gets to dance with Damien. So, and of course, Damien's in full Sinsun mode and she's like, yeah, she won. So I guess I'll dance with her because I have to. That's why. Baka. But then we get to the actual highlight of the chapter, Quinn. And I knew that you knew that I liked this, and you were right.
Yeah. Did you see my message in the Discord?
I did see it.
Yeah.
Where as they're all the students are pairing off, Margaret and Mr. Henderson are watching from the sidelines, and he clears his throat and says, "May I have one dance, for old time's sake?"
So fucking cute.
We go from there to Damien and Anya getting set for the dance, and both of them are complete and total wrecks immediately. It was like, what do I do? So, yeah. Then of course, like, she starts stepping on his feet, and she's like, "I didn't mean to." Oh, if I didn't mean to solve anything, then we wouldn't need cops. Just shut up and dance. Just immediately back to bickering.
Yeah,
arguing with each other. Mr. Henderson and Margaret swing by. Aw, and Mr. Henderson says, "The dance floor is a place for elegance, you two." Love it. "Your paths to Imperial Scholar seem to be long ones indeed." And Margaret goes, "Huh? What are you talking about?" It's nice to have an adult, a peer of his, be like, "What are you talking about?"
Whatever.
But Damien does realize, like, okay, I should get a hold of myself. It's not like we've never held hands before. It's no big deal. He remembers that moment when Anya was comforting him. And so he's like, all right, fine, let's do this right. And they do awkwardly get into a rhythm together, and they're still like little kid dancing, but they're actually cooperating. So Damien's like, yeah, see, you can do it if you actually try. I mean, not well, but you could do it. And I says, "Oh, Papa made me practice with him a lot." And Damien says, "Yeah, that guy did seem like a really passionate, serious guy." And Anya's like, "He is very passionate about the mission." And Damien says, "I was taught by a dance instructor my family hired." "Your family sounds nice." He smiles at her, gives her a nice look.
It's nice little line.
Yeah, and then Anya's like, "Oh," and he says, "Oh, I mean, yeah, you're so poor. You had to learn from your parents. Ha! I win because a pro taught me and stuff." How did you know about my dog in the pond anyway? Did you like read my mind or something? And Anya, after he like seemingly twirls her, by the way, so they go into a big 2-page spread of these little kids dancing, and Anya just looks them right in the eyes and says, "Yes, I can read people's minds."
Yes! Progress!
And Damien stares her in the eyes in shock. And then his eyes narrow. He's like, "You dummy! You watch too many cartoons." No, you're the dummy. And they start bickering again immediately. And Becky's like, "Oh, but you guys were dancing so nicely." But as they're arguing, they're still dancing. And so Becky's like, "I guess it's still progress." Aww. And we get a little notice that says Anya and Damien's friendship level has plus 100 now. Aww.
Yeah.
This was so fucking precious.
This is a great chapter. I have been waiting for some like real level of progression in the series, and Anya coming clean about her ability is one. Now, yes, Damien does not like accept it at the end, but I do feel like this is going to come back up later on. Anya will do something, and he will be like, "Wait a minute, like." She did say she could read. Like, I do think this is, like, a significant moment. It's not being played off like it is, because he's just like, fuck you, stop making up stuff. You watch too many cartoons, you're a dork. But I like that we're making big progress. It just feels very, very cool. Plus, it's just a cute chapter.
Yeah. I like that because this is, even though he doesn't believe her, is a big thing because Anya has always hidden the fact that she can read minds from everyone. So the fact that she, in this moment, trusted Damien enough to tell him that is a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet because it's not just a matter of like, oh, for the mission and stuff. It's like, no, it's like these two kids are growing to like each other and get along, and that's very sweet.
Yes.
Because that's how you actually achieve peace. It's just by everyone getting along.
Yeah. Why can't we all be like these kids? All right, Nick.
it's Eden Zero.
Let's talk about Eden Zero. This is chapter 280, Windlands. I'm going to go fast, and I have some thoughts at the end. So we open. Ziggy has punched Void in the chest, and Void, of course, uses his time powers to just reverse it. And he's like,
It did not happen!
Yeah, he's like, I just reverse it. Stupid. I can't be defeated. And Ziggy's like, you know nothing. I'm a robot. So having a kid is a bit beyond my abilities. But if anything can be passed from father to son, I'm going to have to teach you about the meaning of power. Stupid line.
God.
Cut to the Eden Zero. Clean is trying to navigate the ship away from the Eden's One as Jin shows down with Crow, who is like, I used to be a warrior of light. I would create my own darkness. But then I created Dead End Crow to attack a festival, and I was going to rescue the town, but I was the one to save them. It was Bob Lucci. And that's when I realized I was the evil. Ah!
And you know what else I realized? Being evil is good.
Ooh, it's so fun. Jin is like, you're just a loser. We've met people in this loop who were bad in the past, and they're not perfect, but they're better now. Whereas you didn't change at all. You've always sucked. And Clean Crow is like, you should try being evil.
It's great.
Cure. Sorry, not Crow. So they have a bit of a fight. There's some action being done. Cure has laser eye beams. There's just a bunch of like random, because like Jin will get attacks in, but Cure just like is like, I have regeneration powers. It doesn't mean anything. He uses little robot tentacles or whatever. And he's like, time to kill you. And Jin's like, wow, Xenolith's bondage training actually did come in handy. And he pops an arm off and he punches Cure. And then he frees himself and then he hits him with a big, powerful attack. And that attack...
all I have to do is hit you harder.
Yeah, and that attack was enough to expose a core because Cure's like, I'm immutable. He's like, I remember Dead End Crow had a core and you have one too. And I can see it was in a belly button. So he attacks again and destroys Cure. He blows him up and presumably blows up the Cure as well. And as Cure's head is like rolling away, being like, impossible. Jin says the cool guy line of Cure. Guess you should have started by curing your delusions.
This is bad. Like this is a stupid, dumb chapter, and it's bad. I cannot believe how stupid all of this dialogue is.
So Nick, I don't like talking
Is it
about
over yet?
I don't like talking about Eden Zero very much.
Okay.
So sometimes I need to do things to allow me to find ways to enjoy it.
And what have you
So
done?
I have assembled
What?
a small whiteboard of points I would like to go over, analyzing this as though it were a wrestling match.
Oh, okay.
I understand that to our audience, you can't read this. It's backwards on here. You can't see it. This is really for me. This is for me to enjoy because I need to find ways to enjoy this manga. So first,
we're past the point of enjoying how bad it is.
Yes.
Like we're gone from there.
the first point. Cure is a bad heel. He has no build-up. This character has never won. He has absolutely nothing going for him. There is no build-up to this character. We shouldn't be spending time on him here. By the way, Cure has no heat. He has done nothing in this series except lose. So beating him means nothing. This has accomplished absolutely zero in the context of this series. I apologize. I'm going to be loud. Number 3, Cure has a bad offense. It's not compelling to watch him fight. He just sends out tentacles. It's not cool. He needs to get a better fucking moveset.
I know what he's going to do. He's going to take him into the corner and hit him.
Yeah. He's going to give him a slam, maybe. Bad promo. Awful. No connection to the hero. This does nothing. This is a bad promo and a waste of time for the audience. This does not hype up the match. This is nothing whatsoever. 5, Cure no sells the whole match, then loses. Dumb. This is dumb. He's like, you can't beat me. I'm undefeatable. I'm defeated. It's so fucking stupid. 6, why is this low card fight this high in the card? This is crazy. We're so close to the main event. Is this the piss match? Like, am I supposed to buy my t-shirts during this? Why is this here? 7, Jin gets no promo time. Who is he? I don't know who Jin is. As we'll get to in a second, I know what his gimmick is, but I don't know who Jin is. The only 2 things I know about him is he has like robot school friends and he loves his sister, and that's kind of creepy to say. So like, he needs fucking promos so we know what his character is. What is he like? How is he different from everybody else? What's his personality? It's bad. 8, Jin hits his finish, doesn't cover, hits same finish again. Why? Question mark. This is pointless. He hits it with the big wind ninja attack, and then he's like, Kira, you got a core. I'm gonna do it again, and then he wins. This is fucking stupid. This is a waste of time. 9, this card is too full. There are too many things going on right now. 2 nights, dude, 2 nights. You have too many matches. Not everyone can get on this card. Some people just aren't interesting. 10, Jin's gimmick sucks. He's a robot ninja, and you found a way to make that boring. This is a big failure of everybody. He should be like a fucking slam dunk cool character, but I hate him. Number 11, the Eden Zero faction is too big. There are too many members. It was cool when it was like 4 characters and they had like a manager, but they just keep adding members and they keep trying to make them important. You can't do this.
There's too many Bullet Club sub-factions.
Yes! We don't need the shining stars as well this time. They were starting to get killed off. It was working well. We were writing them out of the company, and then we keep bringing them back. This is awful. And finally, this wasn't a hot feud the first time you did it. We saw this fight before. We killed Kira before. It wasn't cool the last time. Jin was there. He wasn't like super important to it because I'm pretty sure it was more about clean and holy. But we did this thing before. We didn't need to run it back. So...
yeah, Holy was the only person that Kira had any heat on, and she got it back by beating him last time, so why is he still here? Let him go to a different promotion. Let him go somewhere else, work on his fundamentals,
Yeah.
work on that cheap offense, have some time to cut promos on Anya, figure out what his character is, and then bring him back in as a completely different character. That dead-end crow thing sounded a lot more compelling,
the dead-end crow gimmick was better. I don't know what to tell you. He needs to go back to it.
All right. So anyway, Tony Khan, hire someone else to book your show. Greens, chapter 15, Resolve. Shit, Haku got a birdie. So everyone's like, oh my god, it went in. Oga is reacting to this like, oh my god, he got a birdie from that far out. And then Oliver's like, hey, come on, stop zoning out Yusaki. You got a birdie. You did it. He's like, it went in? It went in. For real? For real. So Oliver's like the one person like keeping his cool during all this. Like, hey, told you could do it. You did it. Good job. Let's go. Move on to the next one. And then Oliver says like, I got like a chill when you took out that 8-iron. I was wondering if you were just gonna like if you're just going to hit it through to the next hole. But Kaku says like, oh no, I just kind of like visualize this one time that I managed to hit the ball a clean 100 yards, and I just tried to do that again. And Oliver's like, I mean, if you could aim for that and achieve it, that's like genius level stuff. Kaku's like, nah, I just got lucky. They head to the green, and they're like, hey, the match technically isn't over yet, because of course Oga hit a really good approach on her second shot. She is on the green. It's a tough putt, but she can make it. They're like, it's like 6.5 yards away. That's difficult. So Oga's like, I'll sink it. I'll sink it. I won't lose. And she puts the ball, and it just kind of drifts off to the side. A little like unevenness in the green causes it to miss the target. And she is just stunned by this happening. Like, shit, she missed. And it's like, hey, Haku just won the hole. And Oliver thinks like, hey, Nadeshiko played that perfectly. PGA pros miss that shot most of the time at this range. But Oga's just thinking, I lost to a beginner, to Yesaki. I lost.
Really cool. She is deep in the frustrations about this. She is furious.
Toto tries to be nice to everyone. She's like, hey, nice birdie, Haku. Nice par, Nadeshiko. Nice par. Nice lucky shot by Yusaki there, huh? And Oga says, look, had nothing to do with it. I gave that my all. And I missed and lost by one shot. Yusaki, I won't lose a second time. And Naka's like, and Oliver's like, hey, don't mind her. She's not angry. She's just like, like overzealous about these things. Par is not a bad score to get. But Haku just says like, I'm actually, happy about it. That Oga's looking at me.
Yeah.
And then he realized like, I was just trying to get her to acknowledge me one time, but now that I'm here, I don't want this to just be a fluke, once in a blue moon thing that happened. I want her to see that I can hit a birdie that comes entirely from my own skill. So, hey, he's achieved one goal. He's moving on to the next one and is trying to keep on going. And so Oliver's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to get back to playing now. And Haku's like, oh, thanks. And Oliver says, now we're rivals. You got a birdie. You're not a novice anymore. So I'm going to treat you like an equal. It's like, aw, look how far these two have come. When Oliver was looking down on him before, now he's like, hey, I respect you as a rival now, so I'm not going to help you out anymore. So it's nice. They get to the next hole, which is a par 5, 500 yards to the hole. Haku starts focusing in. He's getting into the zone, and Oliver realizes that. It's like there's two types of golfers out there. There are people who get more intense and outgoing when their spirits rise, and there are people who dive into themselves and can't even see what's happening around them. And it looks like Haku's that second type. Haku drives the ball. It's a really powerful shot, but the wind suddenly picks up and takes it off course, and it lands in the rough. Like, oh, well, I guess it's not always a good thing to hit the ball really far because of that. So then Oga says, like, you lost to the wind with that shot. It looks like it's stronger higher up, so I'll use that as a reference. and she swings her club, and it almost looks like she's swinging it like a baseball bat. She's doing it so low and horizontally. And so she hits the ball with a really low trajectory, which allows it to go without being impacted by the wind, which is active higher up. But although we do check in and see that, Haku's got such an advantage in driving that although he's in the rough, he did hit it farther than Oga did, which pisses her off, and it's like, fucking hell. So now it comes to Oga, and she's turned to hit the ball, and she's like, he hit it further than me. I lack resolve. I lack resolve. That's why my putts are weak. I can't make up my mind about going to the States either. Somewhere in my heart, I always play it safe to avoid ruin. But today, I'm making up my mind. And she takes out the driver again, which Oliver goes like, holy shit.
Yeah, he's like fucking driver pilled. He's like, a driver! He's going crazy.
And Haku doesn't get it. It's like, what are you guys talking about? It's like, so the one wood's not good for hitting off the green because of the way that it's shaped, but Oga's going for it. You have to hit at a really weird angle to avoid it from clipping the ground. And so Haku's like, well, why is she doing it then? And Oliver says, because that's the only way she can compete against you in distance. And then Haku's like, wait, competing against me? And it's like, yeah, she's acknowledging you, dude. And I love the moment where Oga, like, hypes herself up. Don't be afraid, girl.
we all need those moments. We all just need that point where you're just like, all right, girl, let's do it.
Yeah. And she thinks to herself, if you're going to live, then live. If you're going to die, then die with dignity. And she fucking hits that ball. She hits it onto the green. And she's like, go!
Yeah.
I love her.
She is awesome. This is like a really cool moment for Oga. This is like just a chapter with a ton of really good art in it. A lot of great expressions. It's just like a really, really good chapter.
This is the chapter where Shin acknowledges that iShield 21 is his equal.
Yes.
This is so good. Like to see Oga, who has always kind of been dismissive of Haku to an extent, now realize like, no, this guy will surpass me if I don't take this seriously and do everything I can. And I'm going to do it right now. And then she does, and it turns out, oh, she's fucking awesome.
Yeah, this worked out super well. This was like just a cool like character moment. In my mind, I was almost like, oh, I think portion of this arc will just be about trying to convince her to stay, like in America or whatever. Like she's gonna realize she has a rival here, so she should stay. But I do think she is going to learn from. She's like, no, I'm gonna go to America and get really fucking good.
Maybe, yeah. This might be, looking ahead to a departure, which will kind of suck because, like, I like Oga and I like her being around and stuff. But if it's for the sake of creating a more compelling, rivalry of sorts between the two of them, then yeah, sure. Yeah. Let her go away, be awesome, and come back.
Absolutely. Cool. But this is a great chapter. Just good. I hate that I'm like compelled by golf, but this series has done a good job at making me compelled by it. Speaking of the opposite, though, of series making me compelled by things going on.
New Exorcist Chapter 42. I will exterminate you. Nue has shown up to save the day. She's come through the barrier, and the level 4 spirit looks up at her and is like, I know who that is. That's Nue, one of the progenitors of all spirits, the cornerstone of the strongest existences ever, the Hyo. But she should currently be sealed. Most likely the Nue before us now is a clone, which means the medium with whom she has a contract is here, and it must be one of those three. He can write off Shiroa because he knows that Kyokatsu is contracted to her. So, there should be no problem then. If her medium is one of them, there is no way that her given output could be of any threat to me. Okay? So he looks up at Nue and is like, what do you want? And Nue gets a creepy look in her face. Her eyes go all black, and she's like, believe by what you saw in my sight. Go away.
That's her voice for it.
And the impact of her command hockey causes all of the younger level 4 spirits to go they're like crying and their faces are also partially melting,
which is almost kind of a cool thing. It's just annoying that it's like, check out how cool Nue is, she's so cool. I'm like, fuck off. But the idea that like her mere presence makes lesser spirits start crying and their faces melting is kind of metal.
Also, it feels like this should be a more horrifying moment than it is. It looks a little bit too goofy for what is happening here. The adult level 4 comforts the other 3, and he's just like, "Hey, it's all right. That woman can't do anything to you. Isn't that right, Nue?" And Nue goes, "Yes, but the role of the sword is not mine to bear. I'm a distraction." So yeah, that captain we saw making her way towards everyone has shown up here, Captain Igari, and she's like in her battle exorcist armor stuff, which is like kind of samurai meets common rider, basically.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to describe it.
She batters away the level 4 spirit, and to me, it's like, oh, I see. I failed to pick up their presence because Nue was just overshadowing it. Got it. Okay. Anyway, so Igari is there, and then Gakuro is like, "Oh, thanks. I'm glad the backup is here." And she does a thing to just kind of like bind him, I guess, and just kind of like knock him down. And she's like, "If you want to keep on fighting, you would get in the way. So just stay here." And then she goes off to fight and stuff. And one of her officers shows up to help out. They're like gathering people around. Nue puts a hand on Gakuro's head when he's like, "No, but I'm." She's like, "Your job here is done, and it's time for you to rest." And he just kind of like goes, and the officer is like, "Oh, he is fucked up.
Yeah.
Both his arms, multiple ribs have fractures. His ligaments are torn. His internal organs are probably damaged. Yeah, we gotta get this guy to the restoration squad. They're gonna have a hard time getting him back to full health. I can't believe he can move at all at this point." And then Nue's like, "Listen, if you get up right now, it will be over. Your body, my goals, everything. Like, I understand your anger because all your friends were hurt, but that's why you need to hold it in and put your weapon down for right now so that you can get stronger and protect your friends next time. You have fulfilled your role here. There's nothing more for you to do. So just relax and settle down." And Gakuro goes, "Oh, okay." And he thinks to himself like, "Oh, it's just like she's saying. I would only be a hindrance." But then we cut over to where the girls are all being tended to. Suo is on a stretcher. And he thinks about how the level 4 spirit said, "All that's left for you is to stand there and watch as I kill your friends one by one." And then we cut up to the level 4 spirit fighting with Igari. His hand has been chopped off. Add that to the counter.
Yes. This really is just the Bleach series when you think about it.
Just the Bleach series. Just the really, really slightly below mediocre Bleach series. Then he does a thing to stop Igari with like the binding thing that he used before, but she slashes through a thing behind her, which is some sort of weird modified spirit thing, so it stops that. So then the level 4 is like, "All right, in that case, I can't just rely on stupid tricks, so hollow weapon release." And he gets ready to unleash his power. And then he stops, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just going to stop here." Summons a portal behind him to go through. And he's like, he says through the portals, like, "Do you have Kodama and the others?" And a voice comes through saying, "Yes, I've picked them up. Throw me the tool first." And he's like, "Yeah, all right, sure." Tosses the tool that they have taken from here behind him, and it's chopped in half because Gakuro got up and went after him, and he cut through the device, and half of it goes flying away.
I do not understand the positioning here. because he.
How did he not see him?
Well, I mean, yes, that's a level of it, but also like, so where in this big panel where Gaku is slashed in half, where is the shattered thing? It's behind, right?
Well, so yes, so the level 4 tosses the device behind him over his shoulder, and then Gakuro cuts through it. But when you see it in the next panel, he is the level 4 is between Gakuro and the portal that he was tossing it towards. So you're right, it doesn't make sense in continuity.
Okay. It was like, I'm not going crazy here, right? Like, this doesn't grok, essentially, but whatever. I get what they were trying to do.
So yeah, he used the presence erasure thing that they've been having this point in order to get close and cut through it. But the level 4 grabs one half of it and he's like, half of it's good enough. Until next time. And he starts to escape through, and Gaku goes, wait! And he punches him in the face. And the level 4 is like, I'm surprised you can move. Don't think this is over. But Gakuro says, I will be the one to exterminate you! Don't you dare forget! And the level 4 says, oh, don't worry. I haven't forgotten you at all. Oh, there's a flashback thing of where Gakuro was a little kid. Oh, was he the one who actually killed their daddy instead of that one monster thingy?
It has to be.
Maybe.
You cannot leave it at that was the thing. I mean, this is, the Grand Fisher thing all over again, where you're like, again, because this is just Bleach, where they're like, the Grand Fisher did it. Actually, we need someone else to kind of be more responsible for this. So, yeah.
Someone more important to have more catharsis.
Yeah.
I have to say, this is probably the best chapter of New Exorcist we've read.
I think it is actually kind of legitimately cool. He gets up to slash the thing in half. Like, I think that is a cool move. Like, it just doesn't get to carry across super well because the art doesn't get to really work. But, like, I get it to a certain extent.
The structure of it, the build up to it with Nue just saying, like, you need to stop. You are really damaging yourself and risking your future if you get up to do this. And he still does it. All he's able to do is cut through the thing, but he has the moment of like he does make a difference when he does it. And when he gets to call out the bad guy, he's like, I'm going to kill you. And it's like, hey, that's all good stuff. If this were a series that I liked, I would probably be like, this was awesome, and all that. Instead, it's just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't care for the long-term consequences of any of this, so it's fine.
Yeah, this was very, like, I feel like, excuse me, I think like very frequently New Exorcist, when it's at its quote-unquote best, is just mid. And that's where it's kind of at now. I think this is the best it's going to put out, and it's still just kind of like Bleach at home, which I've definitely used that term before, so maybe we're just going to start calling it that. Like, we're no longer is it New Exorcist, it's just Bleach at home.
Bleach at home. We're going to keep calling it.
Yes.
2 on Ice.
Bleach from Wish.
2 on Ice, chapter 24. So they're performing... God, I was just remembering what happens in this chapter. Chapter 24, the symbolism of Cinderella. So they give a little bit of a breakdown of what this song is, Cinderella's Dance. In this scene in the play, Cinderella waltzes with the prince who has fallen in love with her. After hearing this, most would imagine a graceful, serene melody from a fairy tale, but this song isn't that. It's stately with an overbearing accompaniment. The melody is dark, warped, and decadent. The song has a sense of mystery, a far cry from the image of Cinderella most Japanese people have. So they are performing to this at this point, and a whole bunch of people are, like watching us on like streams and stuff. Trash Girl is watching it from live in the audience.
Of course, meanwhile, Trash Girl.
Hayuma and Kisara are just like focusing, like, hey, we're gonna go to the rink soon and stuff. And so they're like, okay, so now Sora and Himuro are performing. They do a twist lift, and it's like, oh, Himuro's, because she's got that small build, she's like made for pairs. She's so light and able to be thrown so quickly and stuff. But some people in the audience start going like, they planned for a triple toe loop for their jump, right? But Sora can do a quadruple toe loop. So that means that, he's got to be playing down to her level, right? And And so it comes to it, and so like, okay, we've got to take off, and Himuro's like, all right, I'm gonna match Sora's feet as we go on, but instead of coming off of his left foot, he comes off his right foot, and they're immediately like, wait, what's he doing? And that's because he does a quadruple toe loop while she only does a triple. And everyone's like, what?
Wow, that's
match.
A big problem, right?
And so immediately Natsu's like, why did he do a quad there? Like, they're still going to score that as a triple, because when you don't match that way, you go for the lower scoring one. He just like completely did that for no reason. And so like they went through different approaches for that. And some of the people in the audience were like, why isn't Himuro matching Sora? And Himuro is, when they joined together, thinking to herself like, he was matching me until now. Why is he doing this? And so there is, of course, that thought of like, look, in the side by side, the more skilled partner has to match the less skilled one. So most of the audience doesn't know that, though. If anyone's at fault, it is Sora for not matching her approach and her skills. He's good at pair moves. He did that intentionally. But why? And then it gets to the part where they're not doing pairs moves, they're doing side by side again. It's like, that's the only part he's not matching her on. And, you know, people who are like, you know, professional skaters are watching this and they're like, this is not a side by side. You're just skating next to Sora, and so everyone can see you're inferior to him. It's like a public execution. And then someone goes, is Sora deliberately just throwing this season? And Sora thinks to himself, I was disappointed by the tryouts. After advertising them so dramatically, I couldn't find a skater who fit the glass slipper. I shouldn't have been so lazy. I could have visited every rink for my search. This song, which seems so un-Cinderella-like and has a mesmerizing quality that's sharp and garish, is originally from a ballet. It has many variations created by different choreographers. And this there is one dance among those that fits my interpretation. The two are pulled apart by a crowd of dancers as the women around them reveal their jealousy and fury. Both emotions fit a cynical song like this. And while he is thinking this, he's lifting her above his head so that the hating eyes of the audience can stare at Himuro.
Yes.
And he thinks to himself, poor Cinderella is only exposed to the public and ridiculed.
Because he knows his audience hates her.
And she just has to keep on performing while she's getting more and more disturbed by realizing, like, oh my God, what's going? Why? Why is everyone complaining? Yuki chose me. Why? And even if you were chosen for this reality, even if you were chosen for this reality doesn't have a happily ever after like in fairy tales. I only chose you because my fans would especially hate you. By now, the people who came to see me probably think this is all your fault anyway. I'm trying to lure someone out of hiding, just like how Kisara Saotome had Hayume Minekoshi. There must be someone who's perfectly studied my habits and timing. Someone who's a fanatic, isn't there?
Trash girl. Trash girl. Trash girl. Trash.
And he's like, there's someone out there who just wouldn't be fine with this. They wouldn't allow someone like this to be my partner. And it shifts to a scene of them doing the Cinderella dance, and he's all princed out and stuff, and she's just clearly like not looking him in the eyes. She's uncomfortable while everyone watches them. And then Trash Girl, we get a crash zoom on her, and she thinks they're not matching. What's going to happen to the score? He has all the moons down, and Yuki is more on beat. And so someone's like, I read in pairs, they match with a weaker partner, so maybe this is Yuki's fault. Like, no, he's probably just not used to pairs. There's no way Yuki would ever be wrong.
I love it. Trash Girl is legit just like, oh, he's the worst. And I can't stop being in love with him.
She knows this is so great because everyone is like, oh no, he's infallible, right? My precious Yuki. And she's like, no, he's being the worst and I love him.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly what he is doing and how horrible it is. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's still doing it anyway. He must have been planning this from the start. But Yuki is. And Himura realizes at this point what's happening, and she's like, he was so nice to me. He treated me like a princess, but now he's looking down on me like I'm trash. And he just is.
Yeah.
She's skating with her and looking at her like, fuck you. And yeah, everyone's just hypnotized by this except for Himura, for whom the spell has finally just broken. And Yuki just says, as she's like collapsed to her knees at the end of the performance, Himura, they came to watch us. You should greet them, right? And he stands up and turns, and his eyes don't fall on anyone in the audience. He looks right at Hyuma and Kisara, who are getting ready for their performance, and they're getting set, hyping each other up, being good partners after he has just destroyed his own.
Fucking evil. Like, he is just straight up a bastard.
He's just a bad dude.
And I enjoy that he is just an asshole. He's just a shithead. Like, we already enjoyed that he's like extra and over the top. And like, it was like the narrative thing of like, oh, he's shitty and mean to Kisara in a way that's like degrading and like belittling and shitty. But like a whole chapter that's just devoted to showing that he's not satisfied with his current partner, so he will humiliate her in front of an audience and intentionally know that his weird ass stans will go after her in order to produce somebody who will exactly be subservient to him, who will like do everything to just match him. It's so gross, but like, it is a compelling character.
It's a phenomenal way to build a villain and to build a villain pair. We had this whole thing of like, oh, Trash Girl, what's going on with her and stuff, and we've been following her, and it's like, because she is willing to match him, that is it. She is the ideal person to do it because she will be fully willing to do whatever he wants, even when she knows it's bad and hurtful and harmful
and dangerous. Like,
and dangerous.
We have talked so many times. Like, the first half of the series was like, hey, you have to be really good at pair shit, because if you don't, you could really fucking hurt your partner. So I don't look. I love Trash Girl. She's me. We that's my persona. If you have to have one or whatever. So I get it. Something bad is gonna happen to her.
All right, let's move on to the Elusive Samurai, chapter 149. I didn't know this was the chapter title. Brown Memory 1338. All right, so we...
Come on, Nick. This is such an exciting chapter.
We get a flashback to Natsu's past, to when she would get beaten by Moronao's troops whenever she failed him, and how she would get rewarded with better rice when she did well. And so she just thinks to herself, the only home I have is by Moronao-sama's side. And so she has gone to him to plead to be allowed back into his fold. She says, please forgive me. I've gotten information on the army and how to make new weapons. And Moronao says, it is too late now, after that gross display of defecation. And she says, defecation? What? Even worse. You insulted my lord Ashikaga Atakauji, and for that you must die. My whole army will tear you to pieces. And so, of course, she turns and runs off, going like, why? Why? Why?
I don't understand what you're doing. Why is this happening?
A smoke bomb goes off between Natsu and the pursuing army, and another Natsu appears to taunt them. And this one has fox ears coming out of their head and says, can you spot the difference? And then vanishes. And so Natsu has gotten away to safety, and she says, what? How? What happened? Gemba shows up. And he says, yeah, I knew you'd surrender yourself to Moronao. And he's followed after her. He says, yeah, I knew you were going to do that, so I've let you escape and I went on ahead of you. And he went to them in disguise as her and said, "Oh yes, I beg you make me your servant." Nah, I fool you, brainless twit. Kono Moro now? More like Bozo Moro now. Got him. Insulted Takauji, said, you're an empty-headed that guy's an empty-headed traitor, which is perfect for a dumb mutt like you. And then turned and yep.
We're not gonna say it.
Left a big old steaming one right there in front of them.
Yes.
Why is everything involving the relationship between these two characters have to do with feces? I don't know. Someone finds it funny, I guess.
In addition,
so
a little detail is when Genbu leaves, Natsu shows up, landing on the ground, and like with enough force that the poop gets sent and splatters all over the face.
Onto him. Yeah.
That's kind of funny to me. If only in like a very...
She didn't even notice when she landed that this giant deuce got splattered away from her.
She didn't land on the ground. I was like, oh, I just like poop. I don't know. It's just so stupid, the idea that she would land and it would spray directly on him.
And Gim was like, yeah, now you can't go back to me. And Natsu's like, what have you done? But then she says, of course, like, how did you know that I served Morinao? And Gim was like, oh, I knew you were that Tengu that I encountered before from the moment we met. Because the space inside the doll was about your size. And I know you changed your voice for it, but you have the same accent as before. And you didn't report my lord's hiding place because you had failed so badly before that you wouldn't have made up for it, which meant you had to be that Tengu that I humiliated previously. And I knew you would go back because you're serious and you're dedicated. So I never left you alone, and I waited for a chance to separate you from the Ashikaga. And Natsu is just like, I've got nowhere to go. I've got no family. Morinao was all that I had. And Gimp was like, yeah, but it was fun doing all this stuff with our army, right?
Yeah. We were like the cool army, right? Like, just like...
We were a good one.
Yeah, we were fun. We were like pretty poggers, what did you say?
Now that you don't have a choice, come have fun with us. Like,
now that I've removed your alternatives and taken away your agency, let's go hang out and have lobster.
This is not good. Like, it's just... This is why good guys have to be dumb. Is because, like, look, it's dumb to offer her an actual free choice. I understand that in a time of war. It's also the morally right thing to do. Like,
yeah.
So, and I mean, he says like some nice things like, look, family doesn't have to be blood. If you keep making fun memories with us, you can build a new family. It's like, you are forcing her to do this. Like, this isn't her choice. This isn't nice.
I was going to say, like, she has no alternative at this point. Like, it's supposed to be a big thing because she gets served lobster at the end. And before she was like, oh, if I did a good job, I got like rice essentially or whatever. Like, she's like, I got like a little something, but never have I had exquisite food. But if you stay with our army, you're treated as one of us, you get lobster. And like, that again does on paper seem good, but it is worth noting he did make this choice for her. If she does not agree to do this, she does not have a support system anymore. She is done for.
The nice way of doing this, narratively speaking, is to have the shrimp and fish stuff happen prior to her going to see Mora now. And instead of going to see her, she decides the last minute, no, like, this guy is not good for me, and she leaves. And then you can have the stuff with Genba afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, after she has made the choice, you can do the weird shit stuff. Because, and then you could have a gross a moment that would be somewhat questionable, where it'd be like, well, but now I don't have a choice, so I have to stay here. It's like, yeah, but she would have made the choice before.
Yeah,
like that's
it took the decision out of her hands, which is where it's bad. It is the right call for her to leave that army that was mean and abusive to her to join this one, which is nice. She should have made that decision herself.
Also, it's established that because she ran off after like holding up a piece of paper that had information in the army, and Gabe was like, yeah, I switched that out for false information, so that way, if they treat it as being real, then they'll, that'll be advantageous for us, basically.
Yeah.
Tokiyuki is like, my friend Genba, he's such an asshole and so smart, so I've got to get better so that I can get back to, doing my plan and stuff. And they start having the army practice crying for some reason. What is going on? And Tokiyuki just says, when Akie questions this, aside from Fubuki, I've had other invaluable teachers, and this is from one of them. The greatest tactic I've received from a war god for use against Morinao or Takauji. Okay.
Yep.
Akane-banashi.
Yeah.
Story 102.
Raku, go. Raku, go.
Let's do that. Story 102. The Furious. Akane has just finished up her performance of Tanuki Dice, and it was a wild ride for everyone because she started improving in the middle of it. Losing the track, but she managed to bring it all in at the end. And so she walks off stage. Asagao comes to see her, and she immediately bows to him and says, "I'm so sorry." And Asagao's like, "Well, for what?" And she's like, I was having so much fun. I forgot about it. Your big debut event, and I just went out of control. And it's not supposed to be on me. And it's like, oh, that's nice that she realized what she was doing and she feels bad about it. That's a big
It does seem that very earnestly her goal was always to make a good day for Asagao, and she's like, I did get lost in the sauce, and she didn't like hide it or anything. It's the first thing she does. She goes back and apologizes. Like, no harm was done, but it's nice. She's like, I fucked up.
But Asagao remembers the words that Chocho said before, which were like, hey, if it were I were in her position, I would just be going on and on and on. And he realizes, like, that's what was happening at this huge event where her promotion is on the line. She lost sight of that. And so he immediately, like, starts haranguing her and is like, yeah, no kidding. You have me sweating bullets and stuff. But, he's doing it kind of, like, good-naturedly. Doing, like, the good, like, kind of, like, yeah, your senpai's talking sense into you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then he brings around and says, like, look, in the latter half of Tanuki Dice, there's supposed to be 3 games of Choboichi, and you wrapped it all up in 1. Was that to make sure that you finished on time? I can tell these things, you idiot. But I will say, it was a great performance. Just not nearly on my level. Yeah. I'm the star today.
He's very confident. It's good stuff.
Good stuff, yeah. But then he says, hey, Master Taizen's about to go on, so you should go watch from the wings. And she's like, I'm the Zenza. I've got to do backstage stuff. He's like, hey, come on. Don't you want to see the performance of one of the Arakawa Arch 4? And so he sends her off, and she's like, I owe you one. And Asuko says, like, all right, what am I going to do about today's performance? Because now I got to figure out what to do in response to her going off the rails like that, basically, for his own performance. Akane runs by Chocho, who says, like, oh, hey, did you get the promotion? Oh, that's after the event. Never mind. What's up? And Akane says, yeah, I mean, the crowd was so excited. And it was crazy, but I know that wasn't all because of me. It's because the crowd was eager to listen. They want this debut event to be exciting. And Chocho says, yeah, and that's how you would win over to your side. And Akane says, yeah. Well, all the more reason to stand right here and watch what happens next. And the audience is like, yeah, Tyson, woo! People are really pumped up. They're like, yeah, here he comes, come on. So the Undertaker comes out. Everyone's immediately hushed as he just walks very intensely out. It's so quiet you can hear his steps on the stage. And they just all zone in on everything as he takes control of the entire atmosphere of the event. And Chocho says, like, hey, it's great to get the crowd on your side, but a Rakugoka of this level controls the room. Every single move, every gesture, people are watching. And that's what it's like to watch a performance from Taizen Arakawa, the Furious. But then Chocho realizes that's not the Tainoji we know. He tells no lies in his art. However, he feels in the moment will show in his performance. So how will this encounter change his demeanor? And at that moment, his master arrives.
Dickhead asshole fucking jerkface shows up.
And they're like, "Oh, master, yeah, we're here at the hall." It's like, "Yeah, dog." He says, "Whatever. Tyson can perform however he wants, but if he gets shut up by the Federation's Okanban, how does that make me look as his master? Gotta keep an eye on him, make sure he doesn't screw up. I swear, everyone's out to ruin things for me."
No one wants to work. Everyone's problems are theirs but mine. Yeah. He's a stupid asshole. Everyone hates this guy. I assume hit by an arrow by the end of this arc. So hopefully. They haven't really set one up, which is a little concerning. I guess they set up motorcycles. He'll get run over by a motorcycle. Okay, never mind. We got it. He's good. We know he's going to go down. So.
All right. Yeah. The assassination.
Who's on the motorcycle, Nick? Who takes him down?
Presumably it is it's one of the co-workers that what's Kaichi had from like his advertising firm or something like
I was gonna say one of Akane's friends, not Jumbo, but like one of her other friends,
like her out of work friend.
Yeah. And she like pulls up the mask and she's like, "That's for presumably being mean to my friend, dickhead."
I don't know much about the politics of Rakugo, but you just seem like an asshole.
Akane didn't know this was going on, so I don't know why I do, but I do, and I hope you burn in hell. Vroom, vroom. And she immediately hits a pole. She's like, "I actually don't know how to ride a motorcycle. I didn't.
I just pretend that I hit everything I hit on purpose.
I did it just well enough to crush you, and then I fell apart." All right, Nick, let's wrap up this podcast by talking about One Piece. Chapter 1110, Starfall. And Nick, we get the cover page story that we're going to be gone for a little bit here. It's Yamato's Golden Harvest surrogate pilgrimage. And we open with her telling Oden that she wants to travel... that he wants to travel Wano just like Oden did. So, very, very cool.
What is that expression that he is making in response to that?
Yeah, he's like, "Ooh, I don't know about this."
I don't know how I feel about this, but I did just eat Sour Patch Kids, so
So
give me a few seconds to work my way through that.
So we're gonna get some more Yamato's journey, and
his Odin journey. Yeah,
maybe that ends up being a little teaser at the end about how he's gonna go off into the world. You know,
maybe we'll see.
Kind of a little something like Jinbei had at one point. Anyway, Black lightning striking from the sky. A bunch of Marines are like, "Wait a minute, this is what happened when Saint Saturn showed up earlier." The Giants have managed to get Bonnie's group to their ship. We see that the Giants are helping to take out Navy warships. We cut over to Sacred Marijoa, where you can see that their Denden Mushi is still just playing the recording of Dr. Vegapunk, who is just joking at this point about having a little super instant coffee essentially, and also was like, "How many minutes are left?" And I think it is Shaka, who's just like, "We're not on a strict timer." That's like, "All right, well, let's wait 7 minutes." So that's our timer. 7 minutes are left as the other 4 Elder Stars show up. We already know Saint J. Garcia Saturn, Nick Yuki. We also have Saint Marcus Mars, Utsumade, Saint Topman Wargri as the Fenji, Saint Shepherd Jew Peter as the Sandworm, and Saint Ethan Baron V. Nastro as the Bakatsu. And all 5 of them are here. The highest authority of the world government, the 5 elders. We see all of them in their transformed forms. And I will note from here on in, I am going to be referring to these characters as the planet they are clearly a pun off of. So,
right.
Jupiter,
Saturn,
Venus,
Mars.
yes.
Yeah.
If I have to say Ethan Barron v. Nas Juro again, I will. They will become a Black Clover character name. Just note that. We also get in this very cool 2-page spread where we see the scale of these peoples. We just see Luffy alone kind of floating in front of them. It's a very cool visual. I won't explain all of these creatures. If you're interested, you can go kind of look them up on your own and kind of see like the different narratives that have been around them and the stuff they might do. But these individuals just actively go out. We specifically follow Venus, the skeletal horse, who starts riding around through the forest, and as he gets close to one of the pacifistas, morphs so he's sort of like torso up is his human form, and he uses it to strike through the pacifista with an icy sword. Ooh, we know someone else who kind of does that. And the pacifista is down, and the Navy officers are like, holy shit, I just saw something, this enormous horse, and all the pacifistas are getting taken down. These people are on our side. I don't really know what's going on, but this means that since all of them are temporarily like defeated because they're like freezing, we could focus all of our attention on killing Bonnie. So everybody go focus now while you have the time. Sanji is also seeing all this happen and is like, hey, Nami, anyone come in? You guys got to get out of there. Because at this point, Mars, who has like a bird form, is flying just straight up into the labosphere. And he's like, just get out of there. Go. Like, some really fucking freaky monsters are showing up and you have to escape. We do see a moment where Jupiter, the sandworm, just burrows into the ground as this giant worm. Cut back over to Nami, who is with Brooke and Lilith. They managed to stop the Thousand Sunny from just sailing off the side of the world because Usopp used some plants to cushion its fall. So
yeah, Brooke's like, oh, we made it safely. Lilith kicks him in the shins like,
yeah, fuck you. So they're like, okay, we got to get out of here, but Jinbei and Zoro aren't here yet. Jinbei answers, he's like, okay, I understand something very serious is going on. Whether or not the fight is finished or not, I'm dragging Zoro back with me. We cut over to the fight between Zoro and Lucci. Lucci like sort of knocks one of Zoro's swords up into the air, and he's like, you must have sensed it too. Like that massive hockey makes you just want to stop and look. And Zoro notes, like, yeah, I'm feeling this all over the island. As Jinbei gets closer, Sanji is continuing the conversation, and he's just like, that stupid idiot. He's putting the entire freaking crew in danger right now if he's still fighting. He's a liability. And Zoro hears that part. And he's like, liability, eh? Boom, grabs his sword, plump, 3-sword style, doesn't attack, and this one does seem to deal a significant blow. I will not say that Lucci is down, but
we don't see him fall.
Yeah, so. But it does look like this was an important attack, at least. Cut back over to Luffy, who is floating in the air when Jupiter, the sandworm, bursts out of the ground beneath Luffy and eats him. Yeah. In that moment, Dory and Broggy show up and they're like, did you see that? I sure did. A familiar sight indeed. He's not a man suited for dark places. And Nick, they do the Sunsaw attack. Cut off Jupiter's head, freeing Luffy, who's just like, yeah, it's you guys, the giants. And they're all just laughing, saying, it's been too long, Straw Hat. We couldn't wait to see you again.
I've talked about this before on the show, that the moment that I decided that I loved One Piece was when a dinosaur ate Luffy while he went, huh? And then, I can't remember if it was Dory or Broggy, cut its head off, and so he just fell out the other side of its neck, and he went, eh? Like, he was just kind of like a little bit confused by what had just happened of being eaten by a dinosaur, and then fell out of a hole in its neck. Hey, we gotta call back to that, and it's a nice big reunion between these characters, two of which we have not seen in a long time in a significant way.
Yes.
So that's nice. There's some cool stuff that happens. Zoro with that big attack on Lucci. All of the fucking elders showing up in monster forms. I love Venus's form where he takes the like centaur skeletal form to do all these slashes and stuff. Looks like a shirt that I would wear.
It does, yeah.
Very, very cool, fun stuff in this chapter.
This is a very, very cool, very, very awesome chapter. One Piece rocking it. It is worth noting. So next week there will be a One Piece chapter. For the next 3 weeks after that, there will not be a One Piece chapter. Then we'll get a One Piece chapter. Then it's Golden Week, so the magazine will be off. So just note, we are going to get a chapter of One Piece this week, and then we're not going to get another one for like a month, basically. So, it does not sound like there is anything to the degree that like it's Oda's health or anything like that. So this is probably just fine. Oda take as much time as need. He might also just be doing like production work for the One Piece live action series or something like that. Who knows? It could be also related to Toriyama's passing. So could be a lot of things, but just note that we will have a little bit of One Piece and then it's going to be gone for about a month.
The fact that we know about this this far ahead of time too is a good sign in that regard, because it sounds like to a degree it was planned.
Yes.
So it's probably not like a bad news or anything beyond just like, oh, we have to wait a little while for one.
Yep.
So.
And we're in a really cool, exciting spot. So like, it's not going to be like, holy shit, why you can't do this to me? Like, we're not in the middle of like the Bonnie flashback or anything like that anymore.
Yeah, so there was a lot of good manga this week.
Yeah.
What was your favorite chapter?
Great question. I think that the series I enjoyed the most and I appreciated the most, I think it is going to be My Hero Academia, which I really liked. I thought it was just a weird chapter, but I really liked how weird it was, and I liked that Nana got some closure, and everything just kind of fit together very well in the chapter.
Yeah, I get that. It was a good chapter, very well paced. I am going to give mine to Spy Family.
Yeah.
I had the most fun from beginning to end reading that this week, but there were so many good chapters to go through. My Hero Academia was fun. Undead Unluck had that, sign of like, oh, this is the next step, and I'm excited for it. Chainsaw Man was fun.
Yeah.
Greens, really good. Two on Ice, really good. Like everything was really good. And One Piece, One Piece, the most hype moment I had this week absolutely was the Sun Saw.
Yeah.
I was like in bed on a Sunday morning reading chapters, and my wife Nicole was still kind of like getting around next to me, and I was like, trying not to make noise when I saw that.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah. On that note,
but Spy Family.
Okay. Which is a great chapter. Yeah, everything was really good. On that note, my character of the week is Sora, who was a complete fucking bastard, a complete dickhead. And I just love that about him. I go off, you fucking dirtbag king, you shithead prince, you fucking scumbag extraordinaire. I thought it was super compelling. This character who we already hate for different reasons did something even more despicable, and that's good as an antagonist. I want to see him get defeated.
Yeah, and not just like, broad scheme of things despicable, like, it's like, I'm going to talk down to this person because they, it's a shame that they weren't born a boy. God. But in terms of like, no, I'm going to deliberately take this totally innocent, has done nothing wrong girl out here and publicly humiliate her because she's not a good match for me.
Yeah.
So she is easy for me to discard.
I'm just going to absolutely embarrass her on the most public of stages I can.
Potentially ruin her career as well.
Because she wasn't a pair skater before this.
Wasn't she?
I thought she was a single skater, and then she was like, "Oh, this would be good." But she was like a mid-rank single skater. I might be wrong on that, but
I don't remember the backstory of that. I'm going to give my character of the week over to Oga. I thought that she had a really cool showing in this chapter of Green Greens. I love this big showing of realizing, like, I need to take risks and get serious and have courage, or I'm not going to progress. And it was just really nice to see the literal tangible ways that it pays off, and also have the implication of like this could pay off for her character development as well, and her decision of whether or not she's going to take that scholarship. And just really cool stuff. Just the way that she pounds her chest, it's like, have courage, girl. Like it's so nice.
It is very nice. I just want to note the audience picked One Piece as the chapter of the week and Sora from Two on Ice as the character of the week.
Absolutely. All really good stuff. That's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, everybody. We want to thank you all for joining us for this rundown of the chapters this week. We record the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT every Wednesday evening. We usually start around 7:30 Eastern time, but you can follow us on our Discord, and we'll send out a thing when we actually start the show. That will be linked wherever this gets posted, including on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, where all of our past episodes can be found in audio form. You can also check out the audio feeds for wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, that kind of thing. And we also are in video form on YouTube, youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, where we have occasional title cards done by so it's by Steve Man, whose artwork you can find by searching for Steve Man Art all across the internet. Milo Jack Stillitz and Lindsay Dale Cheddar did the opening sequence that plays the beginning of each video version of the show. And we also have a Patreon, as previously mentioned, where we do bonus content on there. If you support the show financially, we would really appreciate that as well. We get you stuff at least once a month on there. And we have stuff that we do as well that is really mostly just made possible by Ninja X3i, who does a lot of organizing and statistics tracking and stuff for the show that really, really helps us out. And you can see some of the stuff that he has put together as well on the Google Doc, which can be found through the Discord channel. And hey, if you go in there, you can also recommend a series for us to talk about in the future. Sometimes when stuff gets recommended, we then consider just adding it to the recap, as is a conversation that we may have to have for something that happened recently.
Yes.
But that all being said, guys, thank you all so much. We will have more manga time next week.
Absolutely. Do we have anything we want to say before we leave? Any words of wisdom we want to leave the audience with?
Well, a pound of feathers is the same weight as a pound of lead, unless the pound of feathers is actually lead feathers. That's not actually true.
I'm actively trying to process this. I'm all right, so a pound of feathers, and I have a pound. I have a pound of lead feathers, but these are lead feathers.
Right. So if the feathers that were a pound become lead, then they're no longer a pound. So they're more than the 1 pound of lead.
But what if the scale is made of lead?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered this.
These are the little things that tease you at night when you're sitting there thinking about how much time you wasted watching the Suicide Squad movie.
Why didn't they just turn the scale to lead, and that would have solved all their problems, guys? What scale were you talking about?
You don't even know you don't even remember the movie anymore. My brain's...
Which one are we talking about? They're only distinguished by an article in front of them.
You tell by my tone. If it's positive, it was the second one. If it's bad, it was the first one. I'm well, where do the animated movies stand? And say, I don't give a shit about the animated movies. Bye, everybody.